Hello folks, my name is Casey Hudson, Crazy Casey's Customs. The story of the car sitting behind me is one of reclamation. I hope that you will join me on this beautiful 1968 Ford Mustang's journey towards reclamation. Your car is here, Lou. I'm sitting in a Mustang here, the floor cut out of it. And you know, people ask me all the time, they say, why does it take longer to fix a car that's already been repaired once poorly? Well, this is why. All right, so whoever welded in this floor pan previously, they welded it in and they did one whole row of welds from the bottom of the car and then another row of welds from the top. They've sandwiched it in, they've created a perfect place for moisture to get trapped and rust out the panels prematurely. What I've had to do is I've had to cut the entire bottom row of welds out, and then I have to come back in here and I have to cut right along the weld seam and grind all these welds back because my new replacement floor pan might not be as tall as the old one and I might need some of this material. What a pain in the ass. Basically twice as much cutting takes you twice as long as it would just to drill some spot welds and cut it out like the original.
What you're looking at here, you can see where they've spot welded this patch panel in from above. And then you've got, it looks like some fiberglass or epoxy or something they've used because they didn't want to eliminate this part of the floor pan, which that's your e-brake cable bracket. And consequently, there should be one of those on the other side, which is missing. I don't have it. Hopefully I'll be able to find it so that we can make the e-brake work when we get the new chassis underneath it. But as you can see here, when I pull on that, hopefully this is just like hanging in space. And, you know, whatever this material is has failed and cracked, which would allow water to get under here. So I imagine the patch panel, which is above, and the original floor on the top side are both really rusty. And then obviously there's this this area here where it's just completely bubbled up. They didn't put a proper coating on it. But, you know, this is probably a repair that was done in the 80s or possibly even in the 70s. Yeah, and that's the other seam there. So it's pretty ugly. All right, and then here's the interior of this floor pan. I've been having a hell of a time because they coated it with like this kind of tar type. I'm guessing it's like a rust preventative paint, but it's basically just like a tar. And here from the top, you can see that other patch. And then this is original floor back here, but as you can see, it's very rusty along the seam. And there's some daylight shining through underneath. You can see it a lot better in those pictures I sent you. We've got one really poorly done patch in the passenger side rear wheel well, and more daylight showing through there. And then these couple of holes along the back here.
To really understand this project, you have to understand that this car came to me painted for some mechanical work. It was making some clanking noises. There were some oil leaks. We weren't expecting any of this damage and these poor repairs that had been done to the car previously. Repairing floors on a painted car is extremely difficult and takes twice as long. And unibody cars rely on this sheet metal for their very structure.
Okay, and here we're going to go into some photos of the Mustang II and the way that it was installed. I've circled some of the egregious fabrication on this thing, but basically it was just a combination of missing welds or very, very poorly performed welds and the worst hacked up motor mounts I think I've ever seen in my professional career. This thing was rusty and paint just over rust. It was a mess. Okay, so now we have both sides of the Mustang II cut out of this car.
How do you fix a botched Mustang II installation in a classic Mustang? You install a Roadster Shop SPEC Chassis. Short of replacing every piece of the unibody structure, I strongly felt that putting a full frame underneath the car was the only way to make it structurally sound again.
Okay,
And here the body tub is finished and ready for final installation of the Roadster Shop chassis. All the rust repair is done, everything is seam sealed and primed. I'm really happy with how this thing came out. As I'm going underneath the car here, I'm envisioning this car rolling across the auction block at Barrett-Jackson with the undercarriage camera. And well, they gotta look nice underneath, and this car does. When you consider how this car came to me, I am really happy with how this one turned out. Now, let's get that chassis installed. Here is a close-up of the Roadster Shop front suspension. 11 1/4 inch bare brakes. It's a short, long arm design with a Fox RS SV non-adjustable coilover. That's their base level option. Does include quite a stout sway bar. And here you can see the clamshell. This is actually the front chassis mount. All right, and here is one final pass through underneath the car with the Roadster Shop SPEC Chassis fully installed. We installed this Blueprint Racing Engines 347 stroker kit. This thing is 415 horsepower. It's pretty bad. But we put it in here and there was something that was just kind of missing.
Anyway, I'd like to show you how I came up with these cool faux shock towers to run the stock style export brace.
Okay, and here we are installed. So you can see, nice and tight, up and over. Just enough room to clear everything that it needs to clear into the rest of our exhaust system.
All right, and here the car is all finished. The car gives off obvious Bullitt vibes, but it was never intended to be a recreation. The color is black forest green. It's a Dodge color. This car is like Bullitt, but with more attitude. This car is like Bullitt, but darker. The wheels on the car are original vintage American Racing torque thrust Ds. These are period pieces, not the modern reproductions. The car has a mean stance thanks to the Roadster Shop SPEC chassis, and it handles beyond words. Blueprint Engine's 347 stroker motor has just enough lope to the idle to let you know that it means business. You might have spotted the GT flip-down gas cap. Moving on to the interior of the car, That is a real Carroll Shelby accessory steering wheel from 1967. GT interior, fold-down rear seat, completes the package. Here's another shot of those torque thrust wheels with real metal center caps. Going under the hood, that Blueprint Racing Engine's 347 delivers 415 horsepower at 5,800 RPM. This car runs vintage air, JBA headers. Despite having heat and AC in plain sight, the engine bay is still tidy. That's thanks in no small part to many custom 3D printed accessories. It really is a beautiful and tidy engine bay. 390 FE style valve covers from Anson complete the homage to the Bullitt theme, and the engine is kept cool by a giant Griffin aluminum radiator and dual electric fans. Big Optima battery and custom cabling provides plenty of cranking, and there's another shot of those custom faux shock towers that, in my opinion, really just complete the look under the hood. And what ode to Bullitt would be complete without that coveted Yankee accessory mirror? All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this week. I hope you enjoyed the process of this car's restoration and reclamation. It really is a beautiful ride. I'm a little bit jealous of the owner. He's gonna have a lot of fun with this thing. I don't often like to toot my own horn, but I really do feel like I saved this one. And it's hard to imagine a more worthy car of saving, quite frankly. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I will be back with more excellent builds very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.